All right, let's get into it. Today, we are going to do a little deconstruction mission. We're taking a really powerful message, laying all the pieces out on the table, and figuring out what actually makes it work. What gives it that punch? So let's just dive right in. It really all starts with this one question, doesn't it? Why is it that some ideas stick in your head forever, but others are gone like the second you hear them? Is it just random? Is it luck? Or is there a formula to it? Well, it turns out it's a bit of both. It's this perfect marriage between two really key elements. And here they are. On one side, you've got the content. That's your what. It's the strategic, solid, meaningful idea at the very core of your message. And on the other side, you've got the delivery. That's the how, the creative, artistic, memorable way you actually present that idea. And to create something that really hits home, you absolutely need both. One without the other just kind of falls flat. So, to see how this works in the real world, we're going to use a case study. We'll start by digging into the what, the core idea itself. And for our subject today, we're going to look at a message that is, funnily enough, all about the power of information and strategy. It's Law 14 from the book, The 48 Laws of Power. Now, the law is written as, pose as a friend, work as a spy. I know, it sounds a little dramatic, right? But if you strip away the cloak and dagger language, the principle behind it is pure strategy. It's this idea that power comes from fundamentally understanding your environment, gathering information about what's going on around you while being careful about the information you give out. And that's really the heart of it. When you boil it all down, Law 14 is about one thing: information. The more you know about people, about situations, about the whole landscape, the stronger your position is. It's a super simple concept, but it's incredibly profound. The chess analogy is just perfect for this. I mean, think about it. In chess, just being smart isn't enough to win. The person who wins is almost always the one who has more information, the one who sees the whole board, who understands their opponent's patterns, and who can anticipate what's coming next. That is our what, a solid, strategic message. Okay, so we've got the what, but a great idea floating in space isn't enough. It needs a structure to hold it up. And that brings us to the how, the invisible architecture that makes a message persuasive and, honestly, just easy for our brains to follow. Now, this is where it gets really cool because the source material we're looking at uses this exact four-step process. First, it pulls you in with a hook. Then it explains the core meaning, nice and simple. After that, it gives you a concrete, totally relatable example, that story of the two employees. And then finally, it tells you exactly how you can apply this idea in your own life. This is no accident. It's a deliberate design to be as persuasive as possible. So, we have our strategic what, and we have a logical how. That structure makes the message clear, for sure, but to make it truly unforgettable, to make it stick with you for days or even weeks, we need to add one more layer. And that layer is artistry. It's the emotional spark. And that's where this comes in. We call it the cinematic layer. This is the wow factor. This is where you use all the tools at your disposal, visuals, sound, pacing, not just to tell the story, but to make your audience feel the story. So let's jump back to that example story, the tale of the two employees. Remember, you have one person who just keeps their head down, completely blind to the office politics and the bigger picture. And then you have the second person who observes, who listens, and who really gets what's going on. It's a good story, but how do we make it a great one? Well, this is how. You apply cinematic techniques. For that first employee, you don't just say they're struggling, you show it. You use these dark, cool, bluish tones to make them feel isolated. Maybe you add a soft, kind of sad piano score in the background to let us fool that quiet frustration. All of a sudden, it's not just a fact we're learning, it's an emotion we're feeling. And then, bam, you flip the script for the second employee. You create this massive contrast. You could show a slow-motion sunrise to symbolize their aha moment, that instant of clarity. The colors shift to these warm, hopeful, sunrise tones. And as their knowledge leads to success, the music starts to build and swell, becoming motivational and inspiring. See, now we're not just being told a story, we're actually experiencing it right alongside them. So let's zoom out and put all these pieces back together. What we've really seen here is that a truly powerful message is never just about what you say, and it's never just about how you say it. It's about that masterful, beautiful combination of both substance and style. It really just boils down to these two things, the two key ingredients. You need that strategic core, a real substantive idea, that's your what,
And then you need a compelling delivery, a structured and artistic way to present that idea that makes it impossible to forget. That's your how.
So, what does this mean for you? Well, these principles for gathering information are actually fantastic guides for crafting your own powerful stories. To tell a great story, first, listen more than you speak. That's how you really get your audience. Observe what's going on around you to see what ideas land and what don't. Ask smart questions to go deeper. And through it all, protect that core idea you're trying to share.
We tore this whole thing apart today for one reason, so you can build your own. We all have ideas we want to share, messages we need to get across, and stories we need to tell. So the real question is, now that you've seen the anatomy of a powerful message, how are you going to build yours?